Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review Talking Heads' 1983 album, Speaking in Tongues. It is really good. This is the track listing, and these are the tracks I added to my playlist. 6 out of 9, so 2/3 here. This album is really good. Most of the songs are good, with new wave synth beats that make the sort of more experimental ideas much more listenable. The opening 3 tracks are all pretty great. Burning Down the House is definitely the correct choice for the first track, though. Side 1 is probably better than Side 2 on a sort of track-by-track basis, although the stuff on Side 2 is still pretty good overall. It doesn't really decrease much in quality. Most of the general texture of how the album flows is more detailed, so it's in each of the individual songs instead of the overall album. But they still get some slowdown into the middle and towards the end of the album. Side 1 starts off mid-speed to quick, slows down slightly, while Side 2 slows down to the final track, This Must Be the Place, which is kind of elevator music speed, so not too slow, but definitely not quick. It's definitely a decent track to end the album on. Overall, the album is very good. There are some more radio-friendly tracks at the beginning of the album, along with some stuff later on that sounds more Talking Heads-esque, more similar to their older stuff. Additionally, the sound is very consistent. It sounds like a more experimental, early version of INXS almost, using new wave synth styles to drive songs forward and to stop them from getting boring. There were no singles released before the album, and Burning Down the House is my favorite here, and it was the only one that ended up on the radio. Definitely one of their best songs, and definitely the best song on this album. The closest competitor is probably the next track, Making Flippy Floppy, but Burning Down the House is definitely better. I rank this album best out of the 5 Talking Heads albums I've heard so far. It's definitely my favorite. It's got the consistency of Fear of Music with just a general higher quality, and avoids drag, the best out of pretty much all their albums so far, I would say. Definitely a top 1 for me here. Additionally, this album does take my top spot from 1983, taking it away from The Police's final album, Synchronicity. This was really close. Both albums are really good, but not perfect, and the quality is really similar with both of them. Ultimately, I decided that I like Talking Heads' overall sound for Speaking in Tongues over The Police's overall sound for Synchronicity. It's always been my least favorite Police album, and although it has some great tracks on it, I think Speaking in Tongues just comes together slightly better overall and has a new wavy sound that I personally prefer when compared to Synchronicity. So, next up is INXS's 1985 album, Listen Like Thieves. This album had their first big US hits, and it's pretty decent overall, so check that one out. Stay tuned for that, and as always, stay minty.